Hey, good evening, everyone. Everybody's on mute right now, so you can hear me, but I can't hear you. And I just kind of want to lay out a little bit as we get started here. We're going to try to get started every session on time so that we can finish on time. I know that for some of us on the East Coast, it's now 7 o'clock. For Central Time, it's 6 o'clock, and then Mountain Time. I think those are the three time zones that are covered. It is actually 5 o'clock. So we understand that this time falls right around dinner. So we're going to try to get, and that's a Southern thing. I don't know. Some places it's called supper, but we want to make sure that we get everyone out in an hour. If we're going to stay as long as necessary, if many of you have a lot of questions, we're going to stay until we answer all your questions. But just to let you know, again, everyone is on mute except for the hosts here. And please stay on mute. If you have a question, you can see at the bottom of the screen, there's a little raise your hand icon. Raise your hand and we'll unmute you so you can ask the question. Or if you would prefer just to put it in chat, you can put your question in chat and we'll address it that way. Sound good? All right. So, with that, let me just kind of lay out. This is mastering your money and finances. And I'm going to let John introduce Peter Jeppson here in a moment. But Peter is a tremendous wealth of knowledge around this area. And I think you're going to find that this course is going to have the opportunity to change your life. I wish that I had the information that Peter's been sharing with me over the last few months. Wish that I had known this back when I was in my 20s and 30s and even 40s. So this has the opportunity to change your life. But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking. One thing that we always like to do with our training classes, we open up in prayer. And so with that, I'm going to ask for John Zentmeyer to lead us in prayer. So let me bring him on.
Thanks, Bert. So let's just go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, we just thank you for this opportunity, the amazing opportunity to learn more how you've designed us and designed your world to work in an order. And we just are thankful for Peter and thankful that you've blessed his life, that he will share that with us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Guys, oh, do you want to say something else, Bert?
No, go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and bring Peter up.
Okay, with that, we could, Bert and I could tell stories all night long about Peter. We're not going to do that. We're going to let him tell his story. We feel really privileged, though, to have Peter as a partner and really looking forward to this course. So enjoy, take some notes, and here's Peter.
Oh my, that's fun. It's really good to be with you. It's always fun to be able to lift others. I want to just briefly share some things with you. I'm going to share my screen so you can be, real specific here. Let me hold on. So when I was 19, a freshman at Boise State, I got hit head on. This particular picture is 7 weeks after I was burned. It still shows I have eyelids and that, but the skin was dead. And the darndest thing was that I didn't know, had no clue I'd be in and out of the hospital for 3.5 years. All my back and legs were burned off. Skin was grafted over many, 28 major surgeries. 2 years later, I want to just show you this picture. This is when I wanted to go out and get a job. And this picture, if I want to contrast what happened. So this is why no one would hire me. So my quick introduction to each of you is I just want you to understand that I was forced to learn how to create a business and make money. And so these things are the things I'm teaching you now are it's my anniversary just hit 61 years ago when I was I call it affectionately cleansed by fire. So I don't know many people have had that privilege. Anyway, so now I'm going to just share a couple of things with you. This is it's in the book, and you're welcome to go to the book, but it's but it's on the tab one, the introduction. But I want to I need to share with you the value of what you're going through. We're going to do it a couple of times, but now that everything fits on this screen, I'm going to show you how understanding the 10 principles that are taught by this professor, George Clayson. He wrote a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. And his research went back 6,000 years, clear back to the earliest days that money ever came into existence. And then he traced it year in, century after century. And the most amazing thing, he came up with 10 principles that have been absolute for all these many 6,000 years. And the point is that if we just stop the transfer of wealth away from us, we're all going to be really financially secure. So notice just a couple of things. In this course, you're going to learn how to implement the 10 principles. And here they are in operation. People overspend, bad investments, family issues. I know you can read it yourself, but I want you to understand, I only put 20 here. There's at least 100, maybe 200. But so many people get down and they just being disorganized. Number one, most people don't have a will, a simple will, let alone a living trust. They're not organized. And so little to your imagination is this is why so much of our wealth gets transferred away from us when we don't know how to lock it down and secure it for generation after generation after generation. So just briefly, the Vanderbilts were the most wealthiest family in the entire world for years. And when they passed away, within 2 generations, nobody had any money. So after 100 years, they gathered in 1974. They gathered together, they had over 250 immediate descendants of the Vanderbilt. Not one person was worth $1 million. And yet they were worth billions, in the trillions. The Rockefellers, on the other hand, they had a system. I'm going to teach you the system here as we proceed, and I'm going to show you how to stop the transfer of wealth away from you. It's one thing to make money. It's another thing to keep the money. So you're going to read in the book all kinds of introductions. I'm just going to refer to a couple of statistics. Stay with me, if you would. When a person, well, let me stop sharing because I want to make a point here that's the Social Security Administration makes a big point that 91% of everybody retired today is totally dependent on Social Security for their income. That's an alarming statistic. It never intended to be that way. Social Security was established by FDR in 1935 because there were several elderly people were dying because they didn't have food and health care and that. So said, we've got to do something about it. So they put together in the welfare program what they call Social Security. So Social Security is a welfare. It's not ever intended to be a pension or retirement plan of any kind, yet 91% today are totally dependent on it. So that wasn't the plan when it started, but I just want to emphasize over and over that if you don't have a system, if you don't understand the principles of how money operate, it's really hard to keep your money. And so the system that I'm going to share with you is this, and it's really kind of fun when you start understanding. So this is what's before you. This is mastering your money, how the system works. You can put all your financial needs in the 4 quadrants on the left side to control your spending, eliminate debt, minimize your taxes, and maximize long-term security, financial security for retirement or for healthcare, for whatever. So these 4 are the general things, but everybody sells. So over on the right-hand side, these are products. And if you notice in internet, movies, every movie I've gone to, they have 25 minutes of ads before the movie starts. And if you on your phone, and so many times, I think you all would agree with me that who isn't selling? Everybody's selling. Sell, sell, sell. So if you go and get inspired to buy a product, but don't go through this process to end up with the product that fits, uh, ultimately you're not going to make good decisions, and the transfer of wealth will affect you directly. So, so here's the idea: get to understand which of the four objectives you want to work with, and then you understand the principles that we're going to go through, how they apply to each one of the objectives. And then you go to the tools and systems that are available. Then you go to the resource that provides the products. So if you start with the objective, learn the principle that applies, apply the principle, live it, and apply the principle. It's only a matter of time. And you'll come right out on top. You'll be very successful. Because then when you start making decisions, you're going to be armed with principles that never change, principles that don't rust, they don't hurt you. Principle, the definition of a principle is it's absolute and it will never hurt you. It's a powerful thing to learn, these principles as you get into them. So the first principle one that we're going to cover next time we're together is money is emotional, and to learn how to control your emotions, because it's not math. It's not about the money. It's not about that. You think it is, but it's not. So I mean, I hope you learn that, because that's what I found to be the case. Anyway, so if you start with the four objectives and you work your way over here, so when you finally end up with the product, oh my gosh, it is so incredible. It's unbelievable what happens. So let me get to. I'll stop to share for just a minute. So as you get into the introduction, there's a lot of statistics, but the ones that really stand out is that when a family, a husband and wife, reach age 65, that the total assets that they have today in the United States on average is $60,000. And that comes from the US Census. So every 10 years, we ask everybody to answer questions and stuff, and they put in their net worth and they put in various things. It's anonymous. So, but when they gather it all together and they average it out, the average family today reaching age 65 has less than 60,000, including equity in the home. What's even stark, stands out and is shocking, is the health department says that the average couple that reaches age 65 and has less than $60,000 of total assets, they will spend $290,000 on medical care before both have passed away.
Wow.
The other thing that is so amazing is that over 50% of all bankruptcies are over age 75 because of medical. So it is a serious subject that we're talking about. But once you get a system, you understand the 10 principles, you set them aside and just help them run your finances. You're going to do it principle based. Your life just relaxes and you have peace. Life keeps coming. You keep having major issues because life doesn't change, but you handle them so different. You don't get shock and awe all the time. And so the very first thing, stop the transfer of wealth. When you learn how to do that, just stop the transfers. You're going to be super. You're going to be so incredible. Okay, so now let's go and do a couple of things. I'm going to share again, and I'm going to find my. I will. Well, I will find. Hold on, give me just a minute. I'm sorry. All right. So this is where we were, stop the transfer. But here is the introduction. There's a lot of good stuff here that'll teach you about, the disease of consumerism and all that. But I want to take you then to the benefits of the course. They really stand out. And these are absolute. I say absolute. I speak with some authority. When my folks, I was 16 and just turned 16. It was 3 years before I got in this horrible accident, and they divorced. And I just recall them arguing about money all the time. They were arguing. my father hauled heavy equipment like big cats, D9 cats, shovels, and he he would do a job and say the job was $10,000, overhead was 5 grand, and so the profit was five. But if he didn't collect it, the next job paid for the last job. So we ran my mother did all the accounting. She did all the books in our house at the dinner table. And so I heard them talking about money all the time and always arguing. So just picture with me, I'm burned. I'm in the hospital. I'm told that I would never see again. I'm blind, and I owed. I didn't have medical insurance. I owed a gazillion dollars. I owed more than buying a brand new house, for example. And so I had my troubles. And yet, when my dad came to visit me at one particular time, and my mom did too, she was on this side of the bed, and my father was on this side, and I'm blind. I have my own problems. I have debt. I have my burns. I didn't know how many years I'd be in the hospital. Uh, and yet I felt the schism. I love them both. I always do. They were incredible people. But because they didn't have a system on money, it blew their marriage apart. My mom ripped on my dad a lot. I said, why can't you collect the money? You did the work. Why can't you collect the money? And she would bear down, and his self-esteem just went in the toilet. I saw it. I lived with it. So here I'm now in the hospital. I have my own troubles, and I felt the schism. And even right then, as I laid in the bed, my dad said, we're going to have to file bankruptcy. And because you're a minor, we can then put your debts into the bankruptcy. So I just wanted you to know. I said, Dad, we can't do that. He said, why? And I said, they saved my life. These doctors saved my eyesight. That happened, took me about 3 months before they took the scar tissue off the eyes and I could see. But through that whole process, I said, how can we bankrupt these incredible people? And he said, what choice have you got? I said, I don't know, but we're not going to do that. And he was really mad. And he bore down on me like my mother bore down on him. So I'm well aware of animosity and, contention and money. And so I want you to know that the reason we're here, that I'm here for you. I don't know many of you. I know some of you, of course, but I'm here for this reason, because I committed that day that when I get out of the hospital, and if I could see again, and if I could do anything to learn how to understand how money works, then I could help save even my mother and father's marriage. I have 3 older brothers, 3 younger sisters, and the 7 of us we talked about it often, and it was the saddest thing. So back to my point, I found it in a book called Richest Man in Babylon. My brother was in business college and the university, and he brought me this book, and I was blind at the time, but my family could read it to me when they came to visit with me. And I read that, I had it read to me over and over and over, at least 30, 40, 50 times, at least. So I had the principles memorized. And when I got out of the hospital, I was able to implement them. And here's what you see is the benefits of taking this course. This is what I experienced. I lived what's on this page. I lived here. So when you understand principles 1, 2, and 3 and implement them, you will find on a monthly basis at least 1% of your annual income that you're wasting or that you want to redirect. May not be a waste, but you're going to reprioritize because you say, I really didn't mean to do that. I'm going to change. And so that's a powerful thing, because if you take 1% a month, each month and every month, that's 12% a year. That's like giving yourself a 12% raise. And that's enough money to dig yourself out of any hole. It's enough money, even if you're not in a hole, is to provide for the future in a much better way. The second thing is will be out of all your debts, including your mortgage, in 10 years or less. And that's regardless of how much it is or how many debts you have. I'm going to tell you a story of Michael. I did a big seminar, I had lots of thousands of people in front of me. I was teaching at a college, an adjunct faculty member. Michael called me. He said, I'm not going to tell you who I am or where I live, but you can't help me. And I said, well, tell me a little bit more. He said, no. I said, oh, just a minute. I can't help it, but you won't share anything with me. So finally he broke down. Long story short, he sent me a list and he said, I'm traveling here, so I'm going to mail it from a different state than I live in, so you won't even know. 37 debts. And it totaled like 50 some odd thousand. And I prepared an out of debt report. It said he'd be out of debt 9 years and 2 months. And I sent it back to him and he goes, okay, I don't believe it. I said, well, here's the amortization schedule month by month, so you can do the math yourself. And he goes, oh, wow. He said, well, I didn't tell you the whole story. I have 53 credit cards and I total 107 grand of credit card debt. Now, how could somebody get in that position? I found out quickly. His son was a very popular art actor. And so he acted in some big movies and got paid a lot of money. But he was young. He was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. His mother would travel with him. He got tons of credit card offers. And so she would fill one up and throw it away and then go get another one. And she just filled it up, never brought the receipts home and never did it. So that was bad on them. But my point is, when we ran it, it said he'd be out of debt in 7 years, even with 53 credit cards. So when you compound your investments and they grow this way, they also compound down when you power them down. Snowball effect, Dave Ramsey calls it. I call it power down your debt, power up your fortune. So as you run the numbers, it's really fascinating. You'll have access to be able to do that. So right here, I'm just submitting to you. He had 27 grand in a dumb old 401k that was sitting on the side he hadn't looked at for a long time. And he took the 27 grand and he put it on his debts and paid off a bunch. And so net from beginning to end, he was out of debt in a little less than 5 years. I get a birthday card from him every year and Christmas cards. Michael really likes me. And so I just want you to know the numbers are really not what you think they are. So when I had the book, chapter on the clay tablets, and they talked about powering down one debt and all that. So when I finally got my eyesight, got my fingers to work, and I could use a pen and paper, and I put it on paper using time value of money formulas, no hand calculators until about 1985. I'm talking about 1965. That's when I was burned. So I ran it on money on paper, and I go, it can't be. It said 5 years, 17 debts, a lot of money, debt owed, and so I started to live it. I did have some money in savings. I started using that. I started paying down the debt. Because I couldn't get a job, I figured out that my uncle was so good at making hot rods out of like a 40 Ford or 1932 Ford or a 57 Chevy, popular cars, and we'd paint them and all that, and I'd help him. And so he finally said, why don't you just do it? And anyway, my point is I started making money repairing a car. And so I'd make $600 and I could keep this power down payment going. And so from beginning, I got out of the hospital, and 5 years later, I was totally out of debt. And I'm so excited to tell you that because that is available to everybody. I said, how many people know this? I mean, I really got up on a soapbox and said, how many people could figure this thing out? And so I want you to know you'll have the tools, you'll have the software, and you can run your own numbers. And maybe you don't have a lot of debts, maybe only 3, maybe it takes 12 years instead of, I've not seen that. But if it's 12 years instead of 10, I just submit to you the money that you'll save because of getting out of debt and then putting that same money. So most people, 95% of everybody from their debt, only their debt, paying it off and saving, will have the best retirement at all. So when we get to principle 4 and you see that, you're going to find that it's worth, bam down your debt, it's worth 913 grand. So that's the third point here I'm making. Add at least $500,000 to your retirement. The average that I've done after thousands of people is 913,000. The average story that I put in tab 4, if you have the book, is Mark and Joyce. I'm just submitting to you, I never put more than 500 for a reason, because the credibility isn't there. I only went to 500 in the last 5 years. Before that, I only put 300,000. When I put 913,000, which it actually really is, people didn't believe me and they blew me off, and they wouldn't go any further, and they wouldn't do any of the activity, and they wouldn't do their debts in the interim and anything. So I'm just admitting you got 500 grand there, but I'm telling you it's going to be at least $1 million just from your debt, not from tax savings, not from money in motion, not from running a business. And you may have debt in a business. I'm submitting to you all of that. You'll be shocked at how the numbers work. I know you all know math, you went to school and all that. I'm just submitting to you. I don't think you understand the numbers. I didn't. I certainly didn't, but I lived it. I lived it in great detail. And so I didn't. I hoped I'd meet somebody I could marry and have a family. And I didn't dare do that with all my debts and all the surgeries I had to go through. And so I didn't do. I chose to go to up at the university in dances, and I went to many of them just to try to practice being normal. And no girls would ever dance with me. I didn't mind. I knew why. I'm just submitting to you that I did. I really like to be of service, and I was doing in the community a service, and met my wife. We served together for well over a year, doing things to help other people, and really got to be good friends. And then from there, we fell in love and got married. And here in a couple of months, we'll be married 55 years, and we have 5 kids and 17 grandkids. And I look back on those dark days, and I just know, and I just want you to know that God, our Heavenly Father, has just inspired me and taught me and brought me along. And so I didn't get all concerned about it. I just said it'll be natural, and it did. And so it was just a wonderful, incredible thing to have a wonderful family and an incredible wife. That the best thing I could ever say that would help you quickly understand who she is she never noticed my scars. Never, not once. That is an incredible person, besides the one that I learned to love. So the fourth area here, our government has 2 tax systems, the W-2 workers and business owners. So read it with me if you will, but you will learn how to save taxes using both systems. You're going to learn how to reduce taxes legally and full of integrity. No cheating, no fudging. You just need to know the rules. And most people just don't. And so that's the thing. So let's get started. I mean, if there's somebody that want to raise their hand or something, if Bert and John, will you look for that? And I'll be happy to stop and pause and give that. But I do want to, your first assignment is in the introduction, it's called the assessment. Where do you stand? So there's 12 questions here. You can see them. And then when you get done, and you'll total up the score, and here's how they rank. If you're, if you're below 40, financial crisis, urgent intervention is needed. If you were 80, score 80, a good foundation with room for improvement. So now let's go back. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions, just a couple, to just give you a feel. I found these are very basic, but here's the assessment. Where do you stand? Question number 1, how often do you argue with your partner, or if you're single, if you get frustrated yourself about your finances? So if never, put 10 points. You can see how you score it. But the next question is, how often do you worry about having adequate money for your needs? So again, score yourself. Do you have a monthly spending plan where you track expenses and compare them to your income? In what detail do you do that? So come down here a little bit further. These are basic. These are so very basic. Number 9, do you understand how taxes affect your finances? Notice the answers. I understand tax strategies and optimize my tax situation. But the bottom one, where you get 0 points, is I let someone else handle my taxes completely. So you'll learn that the 7 most expensive words in taxes is my accountant takes care of my taxes. And then you get 0 points for that, by the way. And so 10 is, do you know what your net worth is and your cash flow? So we're going to go through these. You'll be able to as you go through this, you're going to improve your score immensely. Tremendous thing. Okay, now I want to get to the really an exciting part here. These are the 10 principles. They're amazing principles. You do well to memorize them, get to know them, memorize them, uh, and so that you can eat, drink, and sleep them. Because here is your financial freedom. So here you go. This is what I gravitated to many years ago. Financial freedom to me, probably different for everybody, but for me, and if you would like to adopt it, I think it would be wise. So, financial freedom is the ability to wake up each morning and choose whether or not to work. So, when you have enough passive income that when you wake up in the morning, you can choose to work or not, that's called freedom. Okay. You may choose to work, no problem. It's not work being here with you right now, but I choose to do it and I'm delighted to do it. Now, when time has gone down, I've improved this statement. I'm going to improve it with two words. But so now for, I don't know, 15 years or so, I have the ability when I wake up in the morning to choose to work or not because I have enough income tax free passive income. So I've arranged things to have passive income, but not taxable. And that is another level of understanding and operation. I just want you to know I walk my talk. I have no ego here. I could care less. I just want you to understand how that works. Okay. Uh, one little caveat I would like you to do is a lot of people like to use software. They like to use Quicken or QuickBooks. They like to use you need a budget. That's called YNAB or Monarch or any of them. You certainly can, but my suggestion is don't. Use pen and paper and everything in here. When you in seven on always look at the big picture when you're going to calculate your retirement, how much you're going to need and where you're at with retirement. That's all done. Algorithms are already there. You can just select off the tables I give you, and with a pen and paper, you can do that by your hand. So I'm kind of anxious for you to do whatever you do privately, in your own home, and not with anybody looking. And you can just see, just see where you're at on a very personal basis. Okay, that's the main thing. So, all right, I'm going to now show you where we were at. Um, okay, this is it. Again, what we started with, but this is the introduction. We'll open up for questions and answers in just one moment. But again, this is how it works. You establish your goal and objective with your financial world. Then you move over to apply the principles, learn them, live them. From those principles, make decisions on what tools, coaching, newsletters, books, guides. There's tremendous support out there, tremendous. Tax organizers, financial calculators. We're going to provide them to you. And then from there, you're going to adopt a resource that provides some product that will really help you. In other words, you really do need to do something with your money. You really do. And so if you get swayed to do something over here that doesn't align with your objective, doesn't align with your principles, then it won't be as effective a product and you won't be able to make the gains that you wish. So I'll stop talking. I'll open it up and let's anybody that wants to let's visit.
Hey, Peter, before you get started with the questions, I have put the assessment. Everybody that has a book has the assessment there, but if you have one book for a family, so that each member, the husband and wife, can do the assessment themselves, I put a link in chat. If you go down to if you're familiar with Zoom, you go down to the bottom where it says chat. You can go there, and there'll be a link that you can click on and download the assessment, so you can print that off.
Oh yeah, I see that. Excellent.
All right.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then also, any questions you've got, if you would like to ask the question live, just let us know, raise your hand, and I'll bring you on the main stage with Peter. If you would just like to ask it in chat, you can put your question in chat, and I'll read it to Peter.
I have a question. It says, please call my wife and tell her to do number 3. Okay, so really quick. I mean, next unit, principle 1, the money's emotional. Tremendous tools I offer you that work fantastic to communicate, and so really only need about 2 more sessions, and you'll have a system where you'll never argue about money again, ever. And that was a goal when I laid in that bed with my mom on one side and my dad on the other. It was, and you'll know what I mean. And it doesn't come from me. I just have the privilege of being the custodian. I get to, here it is, and here you are, and I'm just the conduit to help you realize how to implement these principles and how to really make a difference. It doesn't really matter how much money you have. It never does, never has. What matters is just what you do with it. So it'll be okay. So any questions? I'm delighted to. You can put it into chat, please. We'll keep it anonymous if you wish. Anything that you want. But that's the introduction, and we're really excited with Bert and John's help. We've 3 of us have put together an online course. So it's everything that you have in the book, plus all the support materials, plus all the resources, and chapter unit by unit. And so that'll go and coincide with you. We should have that ready, we think, within a week, maybe 2, but look for notifications from us. So like every week you're going to get an article or a blog or a video that accents what you're learning for the week or for the month that we're in. Okay. So this is called the introduction, and we're going to move it to the principle 1, and money is emotional. And then we'll go to when you track it, you control it. And as you build, principle 1 builds to 2, 2 to 3. A lot of people really like to go to 10 first because money in motion creates more money. And it really is where it's going to have the biggest impact for you to have more money. The only problem is if you're not well grounded in 1 through 9, you don't get to keep your money. To tons and tons of people inherit money, and within 4 years they don't have any. Tons of people, those that win the lottery, it doesn't matter how much, $1 million, 10 million, 100 million, within 4 years they don't have any money. When people could refi, and they were refining to pay off credit card debt every 3 to 4 years, and they'd refi. Those that did that, they still got back into debt with credit card debt within 3 to 4 years. I just submit to you that the principle basically says if you do not understand the principles of making the money and keeping it, you will not keep it. And so people who inherit money, win the lottery, refinance to get out of debt, they really don't know how to change their life to be able to make things happen in a very positive way. And so you're on the edge of embarking on an incredible journey. And having done this several thousands of times, in our state, I live in northern Utah, and 30 years ago we became the #1 bankruptcy state in the nation. 1 out of every 36 families file bankruptcy every year in Utah. And the second worst state is Tennessee, and the best state is New Hampshire. 1 in 72 file bankruptcy every year. So I just thought that was horrible. I live in this state that this is deplorable. And so I approached our legislature and said, why don't we teach this in schools? And it went unheeded for years and years. So 8 years ago, they finally said, you're absolutely right. So they put out a request to the banks and mortgage loan companies and myself and others and said, why don't you prepare a training course on personal finance and submit it to us, and then we'll take it to the school board, our state school board, and we will assess which one of these trainings that we're going to put in the high school for credit. Okay, so they did all that. My course was selected as #1. And so in our 29 school districts, they have to take my course to graduate from high school. So again, I don't have any ego here. I'm just trying to tell you that when the bank, Wells Fargo, these other banks, they put out their training, it was all about banking. But you see, money has a whole lot more to do than just banking. And so everybody seemed to be a little bit slighted to, niched with which they did. And with these 10 principles, like I said, they cover the four main areas, control spending, eliminate debt, reduce taxes, and maximize long-term savings. So, uh, so that was kind of cool. So I did just recently, 2 years ago, we hired a firm to do a little study on the bankruptcies because we're still number one bankruptcy state. And we found that, um, I know it seems silly, but when you trace people that from the eastern states, 2/3 of the population of the entire United States is on the East Coast, on the third of the nation on the right side. When you trace where they go and what they do, tons of them, they come to Oklahoma, they'll come to Utah, and things get well, doing really well, and then they want to wipe off all the problems. And so 9 out of 10 of people who file bankruptcy in Utah are not from Utah. So the bad rap the Utahns get is not fair because they came elsewhere. So our unemployment rate has been the lowest in all the states for the whole nation. And we have tons of like Micron, Adobe, tons of these companies, big companies have moved to Utah because of good educated people, but pay scale is way, way low. Um, and I suppose that we match up with Arkansas really well. Great state, great education, cost of living a lot less than California, Oregon, Washington, that sort of thing. So maybe that's too much for you to understand. I mean, but I want you to know that the course is making a lot of difference. It was funny because in my assignment, the students pull out the page. They tear out their assignment and they take it home and say, Mom and Dad, let's see here. Remember the assessment questions? How often do you argue about money with your dad, with dad? Well, parents didn't want to answer that question. And then it got down to how much debt do you have and what's your payments and what's the interest rate? Oh my gosh. And parents were getting mad and they were going back to the school and saying, we don't want to do this. Where's this all coming from? And so I had to amend the course a little bit, but what they decided to do is to put together adult continuing education, no credit, and hold it at all their high schools every semester. So every semester it's being taught for the adults that want to come, usually about 25 couples per high school per semester, not summer, but the others. Anyway, my point is, so I've taught it. I've taught many of them. And then I have plenty of wonderful people that I've worked with that are my friends, my clients, and I had them volunteer, and so they volunteer and they teach it, and so it's being taught. And when the adults get and then the assignment with their son and daughter at home, it's a fascinating thing to see how quickly things change and improve. So I'm just really pleased that it really works. I just
Hey, Peter,
That's the power of a
we've got
system and
some
power of
questions.
unity.
I'm sorry, one at a time.
Yeah, go ahead, Bert.
We've got some questions in chat. I want
Sure.
to make sure we get to those.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so the first is the chart that you showed, is that in the book?
Not, no.
Okay. All right.
We'll send it to you though. We'll send
Okay.
it to you in our weekly newsletters.
All right. Then the next question is, does your system work across the nation or is it state specific or more benefits for certain states?
I've got it translated in 19 languages. Just so you know.
So it's good in the language of Arkansans.
Japanese, yes, Spanish, German, you name it.
Okay. All right.
So
So it
Spanish,
is. I
yeah.
guess the answer is it's good across the country and it's good across the world.
Yeah, because remember, it's a principles. I'm teaching principles. I don't care about your stupid money. I don't want it and don't give it to me. I want you to understand the principle. And the principle is what makes all the difference. And principles cross all languages and all barriers and all male or female, or it crosses everything.
Okay.
So another question is, where can I get the book? Have you answered that, Bert?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Probably the best thing to do is to send an email to one of us, right?
Yeah, please. Then we'll send it. That'll
Yeah.
be
So I'll put the email in there and just please send an email. We'll send it to you.
okay. Our publisher is called Print Integrity, and it'll be coming from them.
Okay. All right. So we've got another question. It says, will we start on principle one next Thursday?
It'll be 1 month from today.
Well, it will be the second Thursday of every month is
Yeah,
when we'll meet.
yeah. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. To be clear, it's the second Thursday of each month. So the second Thursday in April will be Principle One.
Okay.
And we'll start tying them together, meaning once we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll always do a little bit on Principle 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 as it applies to the next principle we're going to be at. Okay, so when we get to 10, we're gonna be hooking them all together. They're all going to be dovetailing.
All right. Um, is there other homework besides the assessment that will be helpful before the next session? Is it best to do the principles in order, or can you skip around as you go?
Skip around as you go, but you won't get support until we cover it in this class. But please do go if you really want to talk about retirement. Go to 7, separate from this. Make sure you get your homework done for Principle 1 that we cover next time for sure. But your assignment then for next time is to go through the introduction, read it, digest it, try to really understand the disease of consumerism. And how much we're being sold all the time, and get a feel for how do we rethink about a budget versus about spending, because a budget doesn't work. You're always identifying what you can't afford, and you won't live in a negative world. People don't do it. So it might last a month, might last 2 months, but it won't last long term. We're going to show you how to spend your money. I know you know how to spend money, but I don't think you know how to spend money to maximize it for the future. So principle 3 is there's no such thing as savings. It's all about delayed spending. So 1, 2, and 3 are all about how to spend your money better and different. And we're always going to be attacking the very first picture I showed you to help you stop the transfer of wealth. The key item is the way you spend. That's the key. So if I sound
Yeah.
like an old grandfather, I am.
We got another
I love
question,
you. I
Peter.
really do love you. I mean, I'm really,
Got another question for you, Peter. And the question is, do you offer personal coaching or financial services?
sure we can. And we can do that on a, just as needed when you have a question. But notify me in advance so with your question and that, and I can best prepare and we can take 15, 20 minutes and really solve it. Okay.
Peter, what's the best email for you?
I have so much coming to me at peter@peterjeppson.com that it's best to use my personal email, rexjeppson@gmail.com. If that becomes overbearing, we'll redirect it. But seriously, just send it to Rex, REXJEPPSON @gmail.com.
I've just now put it into the chat.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. So as a 27-year-old, I am curious about the delayed spending aspect of this. Is it, I feel like with Dave Ramsey, a lot of it is don't spend money you don't have, obviously, but quality of life for someone in their 20s. I can't wait till I'm 60 to enjoy my money. Are you going to show us how to enjoy our money while also saving for the future or spending for the future, if that makes sense?
It makes total sense. I really like Dave Ramsey's course. He started in 1992. Recall when I started? 1965. And I personally applied it. So now I'm going to answer the rest of your question. In 2008, about Dave Ramsey wanted to recruit and train master coaches. So he opened it up and I applied and I was selected to be one of 100. I had tremendous qualifications and experience. And so I got to go through his course. I spent a considerable amount of money, and it took me 3 years to complete all of his assignments, which I was delighted to do. And then we spent a week with him personally, one-on-one, in his office in Brentwood, Nashville, in the Nashville area in Tennessee. I did that purposely just so I could double check what I teach and how. So I'm going to give you the big, huge view, but Dave Ramsey's stuff is really good. He does great in terms of controlling your spending and getting out of debt. But that's where it stops. He makes no effort to go further. I asked him why. He said, because you have to be licensed and you have to be connected and do all this stuff, and you're subject to, if anything doesn't work out, you recommended an investment and get sued. And he has been sued a few times, but so when I'm sitting with him and he was talking, I said about his investment portfolio. And he said, yeah, I'm 11.9%. So I said, show me. And he did. So he showed me the last 15 years at 11.9% average per year, even when the market dropped in 2008 and 9. So he's really good at investments in the market particularly. And that was impressive because I too, because it had to do with money, I had my own broker dealer and I did my own investing so I could learn the system. So I own my own mortgage company. I own my own, I purposely have, it has to do with money. I want to know about it and how it works. And so I can teach it. And so the darndest thing is that I said, how did you learn? He said, how long did it take you? He said, it took me 12 years and one bankruptcy. So he filed bankruptcy because of some bad investments. And he said, wow, I learned a lot. So I submit to you when he's on the radio and he's doing he said, anybody can learn how to make 11.9% on average, like I do. They just have to go through the steps that I did. And I said, well, how many people will do that? And he said, well, they can. And so it's okay to say it. I said, okay, I just don't think it's fair. I personally don't think it's right to say that because not many people will have the time and the gumption, and to make the mistakes, and maybe they don't even have the proper revenue to be able to make the mistakes and recover. So anyway, here's a statistic that alarmed me. So he has a Financial Peace University. I'm not taking a shot at Dave Ramsey. I think his material is really very good. I think it limits you by just staying into debt and spending in debt. But when you take Financial Peace University, I think it's $79, and you and banks sponsor it. Tons of people sponsor it. I've sponsored it. So I'm in class, and we take inventory. We have a class attendance, and there's 12 of them, and class who attended the fourth one and the fifth one. There's some fallout when some people don't keep coming. But my point is that many of them have taken the class 2 and 3 times. So they got out of debt and then they got back into debt. And so what I'm teaching you here is how we go from 1 to 10, meaning you're going to understand how to control spending, eliminate debt, minimize your taxes, and then how you put that money in motion so you don't ever lose any money and you get to keep it. And then the next level is how you can turn that in so it's tax free. And once you have control of your money that you're in charge of and you control it and no market risk and it's tax free, I mean, that's a big step forward. So that's a long answer, I know, to your question, but Dave Ramsey's stuff is really good. I recommend it. His stuff is solid as can be, but you're not going to get anything having to do with principles 5 through 10. Principle 5 is know the rules. 6 is the rules are always changing. How do you adjust when things change on you? We're going to go over that in detail. Principle 7 is always look at the big picture. So back to this spending thing.
Hey, Peter,
Okay.
sorry to interrupt. I have a message for you, question for you here.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it just disappeared. Let me see. Oh, here we go. I got it now. You mentioned the importance of having a good accountant, but you also knowing the information yourself. How do you do both?
Good. So we're going to get into building a team after we get past 8, meaning getting organized, and we're going to get into 9 on taxes. And so when you have an accountant and you have maybe an attorney for a will or a living trust, perhaps you have an investment advisor, a mortgage broker, or things like that, those would all be team members. But let me make an observation for you. None of them get in the same room ever at the same time to help you. They don't act like a team. They don't even know about each other many times. What I'm going to suggest to you is you get your team members together. So when you understand what you're trying to accomplish in those 4 general areas of control spending, eliminate debt, reduce taxes, and maximize long-term savings, when you're clear on your objectives, then that's when you would get those people together all at the same time. And you can do that, and they're happy to do it when invited. But sometimes you have a weak link, and maybe they're an accountant, and they don't want to be as helpful as other accountants. They're so you may need to change team members, but I'm just saying get them all together so everybody's on the same page helping you. But you do better when you understand the 10 principles first. That's what I'm talking about, knowing a little bit about what to talk about. So when you understand it, the principle that you're dealing with, then you can keep everybody on the same page and you'll get a better result. Does that help?
And Peter, one of the things that I think that I've heard you say many times that will also help answer this question is that your accountant is only as good as you are to be able to share the information within your life and where you are. So, you have to have a good accountant, but you've got to be on the game in the
Yeah.
game with them so that they understand where you are and that you're able to share that information with them, especially when and Peter mentioned the 2 tax systems earlier, especially when you own a business and making sure that they understand where your business is and that you basically can coach your accountant to better help you to reduce your taxes.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean you need to know how to fill out the tax code stuff, right? That just means you know how to apply the principles and the strategies. You know what to apply to you, and they figure that out.
Yeah, but let's take a tax preparer, CPA or otherwise, and they're good at it. That's what they train to do. And say they have 500 clients. If you're not at least 500 clients, you're not making enough money to support yourself. So they take just take an average of 2 hours to do a tax return beginning to end. Okay, so 500 times 2 hours, that's 1,000 hours. That means if you do 40 hours a week, a normal job, that's 6 months. They don't have 6 months from February, March, and April, half of April. Okay, so that means they have to do 100 hours a week. Well, nobody can do that, even if they work Saturdays and Sunday. So my point is, they'll come along and they'll ask for your stuff. They kind of hope that you don't get it to them. Why? So they can file an extension. And tons file an extension. That allows them to work on it in May, June, July, whatever. I'm just submitting to you that it's not good to file an extension for a lot of reasons that you'll learn when we get to 9. And so yeah, so just to finish my answer prior to that, so I completed everything and I became a master coach for Dave Ramsey. I have a certificate of that, just so you know. I mean, I could share it with you, but I'm just meaning so, and I think highly of him. I think he's an incredible marketer. I think he's very, very bright in so many of the basic things having to do with spending and debt. And on a personal level, he's really good, on his own investments and real estate and everything that he's done. But as it applies to the average person out there, it's better that you learn these 10 principles for yourself and you implement them, and you just then you've got everything. I mean, you may not be the best, but little by little you get better, better, better.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. And we want to respect everyone's time. We're at the top of the hour. I will kind of fill in on one of the questions someone asked about your assignment for next month, and that is to do the assessment. There's something else that I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to be sending out a tool. It's the debt elimination calculator. and this will allow you to go in and put in the debts that you have, including your mortgage, including credit cards, including student loans if you have those. And you can do what Peter had mentioned earlier. You can calculate how soon you can be out of debt. And not only that, where you can reinvest that money for retirement. So we'll send that out as well with explanations on um, how you can utilize that. And you
Yeah.
know, also, let me just tell you, you're going to be getting emails from us between now and the next meeting. We're going to be sending you resources. We're going to be sending you encouragement to get these assignments done. Uh, if you were like I was when I was in college, if I was given an assignment, I would wait till the week before it was due or the day before it was due and try to cram everything in. You're going to get more benefit out of these sessions if immediately after this, within the next day or so, you start working on your assessment. And then next week, sometime you'll get the debt elimination calculator. And so if you work on this over the next 4 weeks prior to our next session together, you're going to benefit from it much more than if you try to. Our mastering your money session is coming up this week. I've got 2 days to get everything done. Don't do that. Start working on it a little bit at a time, and talk. Go over it. If you're married, you have a spouse. Talk with your spouse about it as well. Okay.
That's cute. Thank you.
Peter, I want to thank you for your time tonight. It's been a pleasure, and it's always great to hear the story. And I don't, there's always a new one. So thank you very much. We're looking forward to this year um, with the Balanced Life Principles. So thank you.
You're welcome. They're delighted to be with you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night. See ya.
Thank you. See you guys.